and welcome on a Monday night in May. We're careening through this year to Generation Movie. My name is JW Colwell. I am joined as always by my good friend and co-host and movie buff extraordinaire, Rich Drees. Rich Drees, how are you tonight on this wonderful May as we're careening towards the summer movie-going season?
I am doing pretty well. Good evening, everybody. Great to see you. Thank you for showing up.
Okay. We're finishing up our legacy sequels tonight. This is where we've done a brief jaunt into legacy sequels. We're finishing up tonight with Top Gun Maverick. We did it for a couple of reasons. One, Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick are both coming back next week. And it was a good time to do it in theaters. They're returning for Top Gun's 40th, which is, again, one of the biggest movies of all time with regards to its importance in the 1986 film landscape. And it's coming back to theaters on May 13th. And both are coming back to theaters. So basically, you could go see both movies on the same day and make it a double bill in theaters in the best, sound and Dolby. I think Top Gun's being released in IMAX and Dolby Cinema. So, it's going to be top of the line for Top Gun and its 40th anniversary. But we thought we weren't around when we were just starting this show when Top Gun Maverick came out. So it's actually a really good time to discuss it. And also just kind of like to put a bow on this, excursion that we've done into legacy sequels. This one is one of the longest gestating legacy sequels of all time, right? It's 36 years. But first, let's get some news out of the way. What I'm most excited about in the world, Rich Drees, and what everybody should be excited about, is that we are now available to stream everywhere. You don't have to watch our mugs. We do live streaming shows. You can watch the live stream, or you can catch us on all the places that you'd find your podcasts: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, YouTube, all those places, iHeartRadio, all those places, IMDb, Facebook, all those places. And it's a good thing. We're branching out. We're going to do, we're going to do a lot of different, you can hear our voices instead of looking at our ugly mugs. Also, our network is growing by leaps and bounds. We have incredible things on the network. Monday night's Generation Movie is Rich and I, 9 p.m. It's our classic movie show for the network. If you like what you see here tonight, like and subscribe. Tuesdays, Loud and Nerdy. General pop culture, movies, television, comic books, whatever you can come up with. Summer movie preview maybe tomorrow night. Simplistic Cynicism, our good friend Gabe has incredible guests. He has some incredible guests lined up for May and June. And then the boys over at Technical Defects, Ryan West, Joe Ridgely, every Thursday night they get together. And it's their unique brand of funny. And they're legit funny guys. They have been together for a long time, and they've come back together as some people are wont to do. So if you like what you see tonight, like and subscribe. We're here usually every Monday. Loud Nerdies every Tuesday at 9. Like I said, those guys Wednesdays at 10, and Technical Effects is bi-weekly. So, but what I'm most excited about, besides all the places where you can hear us and listen to us, pop us on in the car and whatnot, I am also excited that somehow, Rich, as we go into this summer movie-going season, the box office is red hot. And I mean, it is piping hot. Things are going well. Movies of all shapes, sizes, demographics are all kind of converging at once. And we have movies that are doing killer box office. Devil Wears Prada, Mortal Kombat 2 opened this weekend to 38 million, which is a little bit less than its predecessor, but it had 21 million internationally, 60 million total. Second place, however, because The Devil Wears Prada held on to first place, only dropping 46%, 41 million. It's at 143 domestic, 289 international for almost $500 million in 2 weeks. Hot, super hot. And then there are Michael came in third, 37 million. That only dropped, I think, 30%. That total on that movie is 241 domestic, 339 international. Worldwide box office is at 581 already. And it toppled all of the other biopics, all of the other music biopics like Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocketman. It kind of crushed them out of existence. And then what I think, like, I saw Mortal Kombat 2. It's fine. It's fun. If you love the video game, it is a perfect, it's probably the best Mortal Kombat movie that's ever been made. I thought the reboot in 2021 was a little too, maybe not 2021, whenever the latest reboot wasn't, I didn't think it had enough whimsy. And Mortal Kombat 2 has enough whimsy and style, really good performances from Adeline Rudolph and Carl Urban. Adeline Rudolph plays Katana. Really good stuff if you're a fan of the game. A lot of cameos, a lot of people showing up, people returning, people not returning, people coming back from the dead, people not coming back from the dead. And like I said, shot in IMAX cameras. So like scenes like this, like all the fighting stages look incredible on the big screen, and you see it in the best place you can possibly see it. And like I said, Carl Urban's great. He has a blast. It's a fun movie. It's not the best movie of the weekend though. The best movie of the weekend, Rich, is this movie. And I want to shout it from the rooftops. The Sheep Detective is one of the greatest family films ever made. Like,
I've been hearing nothing but good about this. And
it is so warm
trying to
and
find
so
out what's the time this week to get to it.
It's so warm and so engaging and so challenging in all the great family movie ways. Like, like when we were like in the 70s and 80s, you went to a family movie and you may not like just get cute talking animals. You might get bigger, harder to deal with things that might go right over a kid's head, right? And might hit squarely in the chest of the adult that's with the children. That's what the Sheep Detectives is. It's got one of the best voice casts you've ever seen. Hugh Jackman is the lead, but he's not really the lead because he gets murdered early. But like
it's in the trailer. It's obvious.
It's not a spoiler,
right?
It's why they're the Sheep Detectives. But these three sheep, you got Sebastian, Mopple, and the character play. I can't think. I want to say Eileen, but it's not Eileen. I can't think of her name right now. But it's the goat, the sheep voiced by Julie Louis-Dreyfus. They are the lead sheep. Mopple is voiced by Chris O'Dowd, who's fantastic. He's the only sheep that can remember everything. And Sebastian is voiced by Bryan Cranston. So it's like it's a who's who in this movie, and it's just warm and witty and funny and engaging and great, and everyone should see it. And I think even if you don't see it now, you will eventually see it on streaming, and you'll realize you made a mistake and should have went to see it in the theater, because warmly laughing with people is very engaging. It's just one of the better movies of the year. And again, that grossed 15 million out of nowhere. It does have a big budget though. Like, they put a lot of money into it. So, but it's so good, Rich. Like, it's not going to be like, it's not Knives Out, right? Because it's sheep solving a mystery. But the idea, the way they film it, so that, it's special effects, it's a combination of special effects. The movie it most reminded me of, and the movie it has the most in common with, is Babe, right? Because it's talking animals, but it's also super sweet and super cool and just very engaging. Mopple's my favorite sheep. He's played by Chris O'Dowd. He's the only sheep that can remember everything. He's great. Like, he's great because he sees everything and chooses to remember so he can lead the flock and help the flock when they get into trouble. And so, he's seen all the sheep die. Like, most of the sheep decide if somebody dies, they just go, I don't want to remember that because it hurts. And they close their eyes, and 3 seconds later that nobody remembers anything. And Mopple's the only one that doesn't. And so near the end of the movie, they go to Mopple and they're like, so you remember everything? You've seen everything? You've seen us die? And he goes, yep. It's all of it. How are you? Not great. Like, just like, and just warm. And like, you might find some dust in your eye, and it's just a great movie. And it's Kyle Balda, who did some work with DreamWorks and ILM and Illumination. And it's here's where it gets fun, Rich. Do you know who the writer is of the Sheep Detectives?
The guy who did on HBO. Yes,
it's Craig Mazin. He is also responsible for The Last of Us on HBO. So it is like, but I don't want to give anything, like, it's not The Last of Us or Chernobyl. It's the most pleasant experience you will have, like, in a theater or at home whenever you get to see it. It's just, I really love this movie. Like, I love it more than, like, I feel at the end of the year, Rich, it's going to be on my 10 best list. Just because I can't, like, I came out of it going, ooh, Mortal Kombat's got some heavy lifting later. So I saw that was my double feature was Sheep Detectives and Mortal Kombat. Yeah, it's a hell of a double feature. Very eclectic. But like I said, it's a really great movie. And that movie did great too. That movie grossed $15 million, which is, again, a movie about, but here's the thing, that movie has no competition for the next month until Toy Story 5 shows up. So I think word of mouth and everything about it will get out and people will find it. Billie Eilish came.
I was gonna say there's nothing really big opening this coming weekend. I was just taking a look. I'm excited to see In the Gray, the new Guy Ritchie film.
But nothing is going to go after the Sheep Detective thing. No. I actually think Sheep Detective will have one of the smallest drop-offs ever. Like it feels like the kind of movie that can build momentum for the next couple of weeks. Like the only thing that really comes
out. This weekend's top 10 list up, by the way.
Yeah, I do have it. What do you need?
Where's Hail Mary?
Hail Mary's at 7.
For a movie that is just going in, that just went into home PVOD, premium video on demand this past weekend. So people are still showing up to see it on a big screen.
Project Hail Mary isn't available yet. I think it's Tuesday.
I thought it dropped on Friday. Okay, my bad. No. Still, even knowing that it's coming, they're still showing up.
Only down 23% from last week.
Beautiful. Oh.
6.5 million. Billie Eilish was 5th, 7 million. A little bit low for a concert movie. I thought it was going to do better. Super Mario Galaxy was 6th, 6.6. 40 days of release. It's at 412 million. Domestic, 528 international. So it looks like it's not going to be the first $1 billion movie of the year. But again, the interesting thing there is we don't need a $1 billion movie if all these other movies are cooking, right? Project Hail Mary, 6.5 in 7th place, 52 days in release, 328 domestic, 328 international, very consistent, 656, right? Just an incredible start to the year. And looking at the summer product, Rich, there's not a lot of drop off happening. I think we're going to have a couple, one or two major motion pictures bomb or not do as well as they thought it was going to do. But for the most part, I think everything is kind of going to hit. Like, I think it's going to hit where it needs to hit. I was talking to somebody, like the big question. I do a box office derby where I try to pick the top 10. And the big question in that particular group I'm in is, what are you putting at 1 and what are you putting at 2? Not everybody knows what movies are going at 1 and 2. It's just which one are you placing where. So are you placing Toy Story 5 at 1 and just assuming Pixar's really hard to beat in the summer? Or are you putting Spider-Man Brand New Day at 1, thinking that this particular Spider-Man is the most profitable Spider-Man in history, and this movie looks gangbusters? So you know what I mean? And then it's, trying to pick the rest in the top 10. I think some movies are going to bomb. I'm not sure about everything, but I do think there are. Go ahead.
What are your feelings on Mandalorian and Grogu, as we're now?
I don't know.
A week and a half.
Two things. I think with some movies, it's really going to depend on how good the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
And then my question is always with movies, whenever we make these big movies, budget movies, who is the movie for? Like, I'll give you an example of a movie that I'm excited for, but I don't know anybody in my house is, and I don't know anybody wanted it. And no matter how good it looks, Masters of the Universe, who is it for? Except
exactly.
us.
That's a nostalgia play for Gen Xers, and they're hoping that they drag their kids to say, "Come on, Dad likes He-Man, you'll like it too."
And I just don't know. I just don't know. That's one of the biggest gambles of the year, and it's just
movie should have been made 20 years ago.
Yeah, does it look great, Rich? Are the trailers great? Yes.
The production value is there.
Looks high. It looks astounding.
I was never a He-Man dude, though. I just was like on the upper side of the age bracket that those things were aimed at when they first came out in the 80s, and I just was like, not having it.
If you ask me, did I like He-Man as much as I like G.I. Joe? Right. Did I like He-Man as much as I like G.I. Joe and Transform? I'm a little bit younger than you. No, the answer is no. I didn't like He-Man as much as those. I didn't collect the He-Man figures. But does it look fun? Yeah. Are my nephews who are 8 and 9 excited about it? They don't know what the fuck it is. They don't. They just don't know. And when they watch the trailer, they go, "It looks cool," but
okay, well then, for a certain generation, this isn't like a toy property movie. This isn't, a video game or comic book adaptation. It's almost an original property.
Yeah,
it's an original property to them. So how do you market that? I don't think. I mean, I've sort of seen a little bit of like, oh, you're from this other. You keep telling people you're from another planet, and everybody thinks you're crazy unless you find this sword. Oh, you found the sword. How else do you introduce all
weird.
These other characters?
What I will say,
the marketing has
like, if the movie is good, no, it won't. Like, maybe it takes off, right? Maybe, but if it's just okay, going to be a hard sell. The same goes for Mandalorian and Grogu, because here's the thing, and this is one of Disney's big problems. It's a problem they've had early, and they're kind of fixing it now, but it's a problem that's still there. Disney is running up against the idea of, why do you want me to pay for something I got for free? Right? The getting them back into Pixar movies, getting them back into theaters, getting people back in when they think they can just wait it out and get it on Disney Plus has hurt Disney's mainline business in theaters. Not for every movie, right? Not for everything, because some people aren't going to wait for Inside Out 2 or Toy Story 5. But where The Mandalorian might run into a trouble is, I've gotten this for free. Or when I say free, we're paying for the service. I've gotten this. I can go home and watch it anytime I want. Now, what is the thing about what sets this Star Wars movie apart from other Star Wars movies? What sets our shows? And the other problem is, Rich, every time I hear something now, and again, I'm positive on it. I think I'm going to go and I think I'm going to love it.
I'm hopefully optimistic.
Yes. But what I'll give you an example of something that I heard that I went, why would you do that? If you're trying to set this apart from the show, one of the things I'm hearing is there's no Skrull, and I'm like, that's crazy to me. If
Rogue One and Solo didn't have
right, and how did they do? How did they do in comparison to other Star Wars movies? I'm not saying Rogue One
repeatedly times for an opening crawl, for goodness sakes. I think that's
no, but I'm just saying it's a small thing where the show doesn't have a crawl. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of ties it to the show as opposed to tying it to the Star Wars movies that have crawl. Like, it's a minor thing, but it's a mental thing, Rich. It's subconscious.
It has a couple of lines. It has a couple of lines of exposition. From what I hear, I will be in a better position to tell you next week. But
we'll all be in. Everybody can see it next week, but that I'll give you an example. I think that's
literally 7 days from this moment.
That's another movie I don't know. I think that movie has to be great, not just good.
Yeah,
not okay. It has to be great to do really well.
And Disney has, I think, 2 missions here with this movie. 2 different missions. One, tell people it's not going to be on Disney Plus or PVOD or anything else for a good amount of time. They need to drive people to the theater, and that's the way to do it. Secondly, once they get people there, all this movie has to do is say, yes, Star Wars exists in a theater space, no pun intended, and you need to come back to the theater to see some. Maybe.
I think you were trying.
Maybe. But it's very similar to what Superman had to do last summer for the DCU.
Yeah, it has to. It has something.
Basically, said it has to prove that the brand is still viable, can still be fun. You need to show up to see it, and if you do, we'll give you more. And James Gunn and everybody at DC pulled that off with Superman, and we need to see something very similar with.
I'll give you one that I think is critic proof.
It doesn't need to make $1 billion. I think
it has to make
at 450 million. They're going to be, breaking out the champagne, because then budget's only $100 million on this.
I'll give you another Disney one that I'm concerned about because everything I'll give you a Disney one that I'm concerned about in the sense that I just don't know right now. I don't know that anybody wanted a live action Moana. I think we're gonna get there, and if it's good, great. But if it's not good, if it's not Moana has become a very valuable property, and if all of a sudden you look up and it's not a good movie, if it's sluggish, or if it's like Snow White-ish, or if it's Aladdin-ish, where they didn't know until like Aladdin didn't pick up steam until well after it opened at the box office, and then it kind of just hung around. That's a movie that I think could underperform. I think Supergirl could underperform if we get there, and it's we seem to have problems in this country with female protagonists at this moment. So
some people have. And that's their problem.
But I'm saying in general,
some of us don't give a shit because we enjoy it all, or we
right,
but the best and all.
But it's there. That's looming over that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like what David Cornsweet says in an interview isn't anything, but when Millie Adcock says something in an interview, everybody gets their panties in a bunch. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing where we don't know how it impacts the box office. What we hear, one of the things that's going on with Mandalorian and Grogu, we're hearing there's supposed to be some sort of boycott because Mark Hamill said something. Mark Hamill isn't even involved with the movie.
He's not in the movie.
Boycott, and it's the answer to that is already have my tickets. I guess I can't boycott. Shucks.
Rats. Darn. Shucks.
Darn it. But like I said, I think the groundwork that has been laid for this summer I just think it's an unstoppable. We're 20% ahead of last year. There have been more hits in the last 5 weeks than we had all of you know what I mean? We have 2 movies that have already crossed the $500 million mark. Like movies that I would have said to you, maybe. I don't know. Like, the Michael thing is fascinating. The Devil Wears Prada thing, you called it, but I was like, I wasn't sure it was going to be like, thought maybe it would do well and then fall off immediately. You know what I mean? Like, but there's no competition, but there's no competition for it. But it's like we're in a year where every demographic gets something. You know what I mean? Like every demographic is getting movies at a geometric rate, and it's all the tide rising all boats, right? Is literally happening at the box office, and it's like everybody's getting that muscle back of going to a theater and going with friends, having a night out, enjoying the movie, even as prices and everything go through the goddamn roof. If you're lucky enough to have an AMC around you, like I am, if you're lucky enough to have a Regal or a Fandango, you can go online. There are all these other ways. Like I was telling somebody's like, "Oh, I don't go to the movies anymore because it's too expensive." Okay. Do you have an AMC by you? Do you have a Regal by you? Do you have things where you can cut down on that cost for you and still
movie pass is still out there.
Yeah, movie pass.
Or if you have movie pass plus your Cinemark card or your Regal thing or whatever, where you get a discount on you get a certain free admission, then you get certain discount on other admissions. Like with Cinemark, here's what I do. If I'm going to for how much you spend on tickets and concessions, if I'm going to Cinemark and I don't have a free ticket with my Cinemark, if I have enough credit on my movie pass that month, I swipe my movie pass, but I also purchase that under my Cinemark membership. So the $10 or so that movie pass is paying to Cinemark, I get credit for on my Cinemark account. I'm double dipping basically.
Well, Fandango,
that helps it add up really fast if you play the game.
It does.
If you think about it.
Another way to do it, I have Movie Pass and AMC stubs. What I've been doing, AMC stubs covers all my regular movies. But say I want to go see Regal playing an old movie, like I went to see what I go see The Thing, right? A couple months ago. I used my Movie Pass to cover my retro movies at other theaters, or my retro movies at AMC that I can't use my AMC A-list for. And so I get credit for the AMC and I use my Movie Pass to cover them.
Unfortunately, we don't have an AMC here in northeastern PA.
Yeah.
Like Bloomsburg is the closest.
The Regal card isn't bad.
And they're both over an hour drive. No.
Right. The Regal card isn't bad.
Regal's not too bad. I have to pass Cinemark to get to Regal, though, so Cinemark's my main movie of choice. And that's outside of Scranton. I'm a little bit below Wilkes-Barre. And if AMC came in and dropped a theater in like the Wilkes-Barre area somewhere, they'd have me captive.
Do you still have?
But I don't see it because I think this whole region is kind of just right at. I'm sorry.
Is the RC still open in Wilkes-Barre, or is that closed?
In downtown Wilkes-Barre?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's doing all that great business, to be honest. It's the closest theater to me. I generally don't go just because I prefer the seating and the sound and everything at Cinemark. It's better presentation there for the most part.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, you can get all your your Bollywood movies at Cinemark that you can't get at your RC theater.
Yeah, they do not do. Yeah,
but like I said,
RC has a very narrow program.
I am very intrigued by where the summer is headed. So let's see. We got people. I'll say hi. Good evening, gents. Hi, Joe.
Hey, evening, Joe.
Hi, Ivana. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Bye.
Do you read chat? I was going to, and then you left.
No.
Yeah, no. Hello, daughter-in-law.
I didn't know we were related, Joe.
Howdy, boys. Hey, Lauren.
Howdy.
I had everything he meant in 1982 when I was 6. I had high hopes for the movie. The 80s movie gutted me. Look, we were talking about this, Joe. You were talking about Loud Nerdy about this. You went into the 80s movie with expectations of grandeur, and I wouldn't have been that way. Maybe I was a more sophisticated moviegoer as a child than you were, but I had no expectations going into that movie at all. And it came out in 87. It was 87, right? 87, there were so many better movies out, like Dragnet and like
Dragnet. I think it was, I went to see a movie with my friend Maura, and I think it was RoboCop, come to think of it. And
another 87 gem.
Oh,
RoboCop's gonna be 40. Holy shit!
Fuck. But
quickly before you finish the story, double bill: RoboCop, Lethal Weapon, Circle Drive-In. When we moved back to Pennsylvania from New York, one of the greatest nights of my life.
Oh my god!
RoboCop and Lethal Weapon. What a a 12-year-old child, a 13-year-old child could not be any happier than Lethal Weapon and RoboCop.
But I remember we're sitting there and the trailer comes on for Masters of the Universe, and we're kind of looking at it going, oh, this looks goofy as fuck. And then they go, and Frank Langella as Skeletor. And we looked at each other like, Frank Langella? Really? And
ends up being the best part of the movie. Ends up being the best part of the movie, Rich.
True.
Okay, well, like I said, summer. I think we're going to talk summer movies tomorrow night on Loud Nerdy. Now's the time when we finish up our Legacy Sequels event.
No,
we move on, Rich.
No, it is not. We do not.
Why? What do you want to talk about?
We need to take a moment to recognize the amazing contribution that Ted Turner has given us as movie fans.
I forgot about the Ted Turner thing. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. From a guy who, basically built his family's outdoor billboard business up to a multi-billion-dollar media empire, is worth taking notice of, and him being generally a nice guy by all reports. That's nice too. Not many nice billionaires out there. But there's a couple of things that he did. First of all, building up a local Atlanta station to WTBS, the Superstation, where it, very generally, ran a lot of movies over and over and over again in the background that helped build their reputation. Yes, TBS, the Beastmaster station. But
the TBS turned into TNT, and then he had two of them, where the TNT movies were a little bit,
even at the beginning of TBS and CNN, which for better or for worse redefined how, maybe both, redefined how we consume our news, especially from the television. Even then, right at their very beginnings, there were, he looked and he raised up people on his staff and trusted them to do stuff and turn out some really interesting stuff. He was willing to take a gamble. There was a guy on TBS in the news department by the name of Bill Tush, who was pretty funny. And he would do funny things because he was on like the midnight to 6 a.m. shift for the news or what have you. He did overnight news reports. And so they could kind of get almost like a little Letterman-esque. They would do some oddball things. And so Ted Turner said, hey, why don't you develop a sketch show, which they had on in the early days of TBS. And that sketch show had he went to some comedy clubs in the Atlanta, Georgia area, found a married couple by the name of Bonnie and Terry Turner, and another very funny stand-up by the name of Jan Hooks, and the three, hired them onto that show. A couple years later, all three of them go on to be on Saturday Night Live. Jan Hooks, was one of the greats for the era she was there, and she was up against with Phil Hartman, excuse me, and things like that. The Turners went on to help Mike Myers develop the Wayne Worlds movies. And then they went on to create Third Rock from the Sun and That 70s Show. And those two things helped, solidified and launch careers of them. So that one domino of Ted Turner taking a chance way back when helped redefine a lot of comedy from through the 90s and into the aughts. And, those reverberations are still being felt today. And of course, Turner Classic Movies, which basically started when Turner wanted to colorize some films, some black and white films, and film fans said, "We don't want that, thank you very much." And so he said, "You know what? I respect movies too much to do this. Thank you for setting me straight. Here's a whole channel of MGM and Warner Brothers films for you to enjoy 24 hours a day with no commercial interruptions. And here's a great film historian, Robert Osborne, to kind of introduce the movies for you so you know what you're watching and get some context." And TCM's been going for almost 30 years now. And
Turner Classic Movies is without a shadow of a doubt probably next to CNN's greatest accomplishment.
It's the greatest gift anybody has given culture.
It's probably next to CNN one of the most important things. The other thing he really did that was kind of interesting, that was like, he bought the film company MGM UA. You remember there was a billionaire investor named Kirk Kerkorian who was who had stumbled upon buying the entire film library of MGM, which was, at the time, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz. Like, he kind of just lucked into it and kind of bought it. And then Turner bought it for a lot of money, way more money than he probably should have. But at the time, like, it was, pre-1948 Warner Brothers catalog. He owned Casablanca and Looney Tunes. But he saved them from a guy who was willing to strip mine them, right? And Turner took them and kind of put them to the side, and then took $2 billion in debt onto his company, and then never sold the MGM library until it was acquired later after he had kind of fallen out of the business. So he protected it from a strip miner who could have sold off all of those precious movies for like the way Marvel did before Marvel kind of got its shit together. And so he deserves a lot of credit for that, protecting a film legacy, because he just kind of loved, Gone with the Wind. He was incredibly impulsive as a human being. And so it's like he'll be remembered for Turner Classic Movies. He'll be remembered for CNN. He did have some issues later in life. The occasional racial slur, which kind of drove his down. But he was like one of those.
I mean, he was
a real person.
As we go along, it's less and less forgivable. But he grew up in that thing, so sometimes that hard wiring is hard to change. And I don't think that was ever in his heart to be bad, to be to be spiteful.
But he is one of those people that when you look back on our history as a society, he was a billionaire that wasn't afraid to spend his money. He was a billionaire that also, he dabbled in wrestling, and he did a lot of things, dabbled in a lot of stuff. And to go from a billboard person, family billboard owner to, all the stuff he did, he's an impressive figure that I think as we lose people left and right here and there, he is an interesting figure that is important to the history of film.
Yes. So. And we're never going to see the likes of him again, because his impact was damn near immeasurable. And glad he trod the earth when he did.
Yeah, like I said, I think his biggest things are that he saved movies from being kind of like stripped for parts and pushed out. Might have seen the Maltese Falcon 2 and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not just that though. Turner Classics, I mean, he's conserved and saved them, but TCM also went on to help educate people about the classics. Helped people all around the country who love classics to connect. It made a lot of these classic films very easily accessible for new people to discover them. And then they, as the channel continued on through its history, they started, helping to co-fund restorations, and they were the place to premiere a recently rediscovered lost silent film, or the alternate cut of The Big Sleep with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. I distinctly remember sitting down to watch that the night they premiered this alternate cut that they found. And and now they have the TCM Film Festival every year. They have they're good about focusing on the history aspect by making sure that they're doing interviews and events where they interview, they honor these people who may have been forgotten for a little bit by the general public. It's everything that they do is in service to the history of this medium, this art form. And again, it's I'm going to start a channel where we're going to show old movies. Is that first little domino that gets knocked over, and the impact is just as immeasurable as his going to Bill Tush one day. Hey, why don't you do a funny sketch show for half an hour a week?
Yeah, he's a very important figure that I think a lot of newfangled billionaires could take a lot of, maybe they need to have the cut of their jib like him, would be my best way of saying it. Putting
they
your money where
can definitely stand the inspiration. You want to do good in the world. You want to leave a legacy that people will actually smile when they hear your name and not.
That's what, that is a perfect segue to a smile and people leaving a legacy and Tom Cruise.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going. I know exactly where this is going.
I think it's a perfect time to change up. Top Gun Maverick, the interesting thing about Top Gun Maverick, again, the movie's only 4 years old, but it is one of the more important films we've had on the show. Let's talk about production. Perhaps one of the longest gestating sequels we've ever seen. 36 years between 86 and 2022. And it, the interesting thing is, in the production, going in and reading all the shots that got taken to make this movie, right? It started in 1990. Cruise is finishing up Born on the 4th of July. They begin development on the film. They go to Bruckheimer. They go to Tony Scott. They want to create a sequel to Top Gun. Tony Scott's like, look, the world's fascinating me because it's so different from what was originally what I set up to do, but I don't want to do a remake. I don't want to do a reinvention. I want to do a whole new movie. And, the idea of the end of the dogfighting era was the first concept of this movie, the role of drones in modern aerial warfare. Maybe, see Tom Cruise fly a newer jet, right? Was the main talk in 1990. But after that kind of happened in 1990, it kind of just died. And when Tony Scott died in 2012, tragically, it became all the more uncertain because he was the only one that was kind of championing it. Then Cruise comes out in 2017. He says, look, we're going to make a sequel. It's called Top Gun Maverick. I don't want a number in any of the title. I kind of just want to it's going to be a competition film, similar to the first one. Progression for his character. He goes to Joseph Kosinski, who he'd worked with on Oblivion, right, which is an underrated sci-fi movie that Cruise made. Kosinski is a really interesting, fun director. They try to come up with how to make it. You know what I mean? And then it goes in production and it kind of sits around and, eventually gets backing by a Chinese company named Tencent. But, all of these things kind of like work in a weird thing. They get percentages and graphic and all this money from other places, but they pull the funding because they read the script and they think the script is going to upset the Chinese, which is a weird place to be. And, the funding gets pulled, but then they start writing the script. They like Christopher McQuarrie, who is, if you know anything about Tom Cruise movies, McQuarrie is like the Tom Cruise script whisperer. He is a person that comes in. He is a person that comes in when you have a script and you might want Tom Cruise to star in it. Christopher McQuarrie might show up and go, no, change this, move this around, do all this over here. Tom would like this better. And he starts working on the script. It just kind of bubbles up, and he gets credit on the screenplay with Aaron Kruger and Eric Warren Singer. So there's 3 people working on the script that's 36 years in the making. So you can't even imagine the sheer volume of script machinations there must have been, right? And so they make the script, they sit down, they find other people, all these other people come on, and like they come up with a dangerous combat mission, they come up with Maverick's working at the Dark Star program and like working on fighter jets that are just kind of like pushing the envelope, and it just kind of like it grows out of that, right? McQuarrie does all the rewrites, and and McQuarrie said in an interview that I was watching after the movie today that he ignored the first film in the writing process in order to make a film that could stand on its own without trying to outdo the original. And like I was reading, I heard that said by McQuarrie, and I'm like, it really shows. Like,
and this not in a good way.
Well, no, it shows that it's not beholden to the original movie in any way. Like,
true.
It is an interesting, like, I think when you look at the list of top blockbusters of all time, I think people can understand why Top Gun was the biggest hit of 1986, but then not really understand why Top Gun was the biggest hit of 1986, right? Like Top Gun, if you ask me, like I don't necessarily look at it as one of my favorite movies. I don't think it's all that great. We talked about it last week. But this movie stands on its own, and McQuarrie not being beholden to the original script, I think is a big reason for that. So Bruckheimer's involved. They release a trailer. They get Miles Teller, who won the role against Nicholas Hoult, and Glenn Powell, who then gets cast as Hangman. Right? They invite Jennifer Connelly in, which I think is one of the best decisions they make in the entire casting process.
That's the best decision you can make for any movie, is adding Jennifer Connelly. I have the Jennifer Connelly factor. Jennifer Connelly instantly makes a movie 25% to 35% better.
Yes, for opportunities is essentially the only reason to see it is because she's riding on that horse outside the store. Anyway, so, but they basically bring in Miles Teller. Like, I was looking at this cast today. All of these people are super hot people that have gone on to other things and since this movie hit. So you got Monica Barbaro. She's been in, she was on the Schwarzenegger TV show on Netflix. She's been in a couple other things. She has a movie coming out this summer. You got Jay Ellis, who's a good young actor. You got Danny Ramirez, who goes on to be the new Falcon, right? And Louis Pullman plays a character named Bob, and he will later go on to play another character named Bob. So like this movie, when we get done with this movie, the legacy of this movie, Rich, could be a launching pad for a bunch of stars in a way that Cruise's launch, Cruise and Kilmer kind of launched from the first one, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a real, it's really interesting. But I was on, they did the filming. I was watching the behind the scenes. Joseph Kosinski and the Navy designed 6 cameras in a cockpit that don't influence the aircraft in any way. It's the and they're not GoPros, as he says in the video. They're not GoPros. These are actually big boy IMAX cameras. And he like in the making of the movie, he came up with a way to do it. So there were 6 cameras in a cockpit of any given plane in this movie where you can see anything at any given moment, and it completely revolutionized how to film aerial dogfights. Like, Bruckheimer doing the smug thing in the video says, I don't know that we're ever going to have another movie shot like this. Cruise had all of them trained by the Navy. Cruise like did the training with them where they were drowning people and like they do in the Navy, like actual pilot big boy stuff. They did a 6-week training, and the one Navy guy in the video is like, just so we're clear, they're about where naval aviators would be after 2 years of training. And he goes, I expected some of them to tap out, but none of them did. Okay. And the one guy gets on, and the one actor gets on and goes, how can you tap out when Tom Cruise is in his 60s and he's running circles around you in a pool, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And he's like, how can you tap out that Tom Cruise has picked you to be on a movie with him? And it's a fascinating behind the scenes, but they shoot this movie with full Navy, Navy's behind it again. They're in San Diego. They're at the real life Top Gun school. They have real Navy aviators they're working on. They're working on real aircraft carriers. It is one of the most authentic naval flight movies ever made. And they have all these cameras and full of IMAX, right? 6K full frame cameras. He worked with the Navy Kosinski worked with a year with the Navy to be able to get all those cameras in the goddamn cockpit. And when you watch the movie, Rich, it is the most authentic aerial flight movie you'll ever see. Like, it's an astounding bit of business, like how this film was shot. It looks, when you say a movie looks like $1 million and you're like, oh, everything's up on the screen. The budget on this movie the budget on this movie was $177 million, which some people go, that's a lot of money, but not for a major blockbuster. Most blockbuster movies are $250, $300, $350 if you're pushing it. $170 to $177 is not that much for what they got on screen, right? So they have a hot cast. They get all these people. They have Tom Cruise coming back. He's, development's been 30 years in the making. They fly real FA-18s, right? They had 20 working aircraft from over the U.S. The U.S. gave them to them. And then they made specifications. And in the video, Rich, I got to tell you, the video is astounding because Tom Cruise is plotting out the dogfights at a table in a hangar with all the actors sitting around with all the flight. Like, it's one of the most impressive. I know we make fun of Tom Cruise for being crazy, but Tom Cruise has worked his way into being the most megalomaniacal and correct person in Hollywood, right? He knows exactly what he wants. He hires people like McQuarrie and Kosinski to come in and say, hey, you want to be part of what I'm doing? Cool. And, production goes on. Like they get all kinds of stuff. They get the Dark Star Project, which is Lockheed Martin, gives them access to their Skunk Works division. That's a real division working on real big boy planes. No joke. They build an entire one for the movie, like a fake one. They get F-14 Tomcats. They get F-14s. Like, they get it out of the San Diego Air and Space Museum. like the sheer volume of things that are given to this movie. And then when you watch it, you're like, oh, of course it looks like $1 million because they're working their ass off. There's 2,400 effect shots in the movie. Like, you wouldn't think that's a lot of effect shots. And for 170, 177, that's nothing. Like, that is literally.
And I know we talk about legacy at the end of our thing, but here, this is the legacy of the original film. Because how many of those Navy pilots, Navy higher ups, people at the various aerospace corporations who are giving them planes and giving them access to all sorts of stuff, how many of them were all big fans of the original film? And that's why they got into the career paths that got them to where they are at that moment.
When you watch the end of the movie, the list of thanks to all the fucking real fighter pilots, Rich, it's almost a Star Wars scroll. Oh, yeah. It's incredible. And like I said, he's one of the most beloved people in Hollywood in a sense that he will give you 110%. Other things that they do, they bring Harold Faltermeyer back, which is great. But they also join him with Lady Gaga, One Republic, and Hans Zimmer to produce. They produce 2 singles, right? I Ain't Worried by One Republic, Hold My Hand by Lady Gaga. And then they take elements of the Giorgio Moroder and Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone and kind of implement them in the movie. It becomes seamless, Rich. It becomes like this seamless kind of like weird it becomes a juggernaut of a movie. And actually I rewatched, I don't think I'd seen it since it opened in 2022. I rewatched it today. It's not just better than the original. It's better in almost all phases. Like, I like Kelly McGillis, but Jennifer Connelly's better. I like that we're having a Top Gun thing. Great. But I like that the reason they're back at Top Gun school and he's brought in is because they have a super secret mission that's essentially blowing up the Death Star. I like all of I like all of
the third act is Star Wars.
The third act is Star Wars on steroids, right? But it's like it becomes this like the production. Like, I was watching the videos, Rich, and he's so exuberant that the other actors all want to be like him. So then all the exuberance kind of spreads out through the crew and cast. The director's exuberant, McQuarrie's exuberant. Like, I know what Tom likes. And usually, Tom, and so Cruise, I give Cruise a ton of credit for going into a production on a movie 36 years later and not having an ego trip. Like, it could have just all been about him, but the sheer volume of people he gives shots in this movie where they're all like, everybody in this movie is more fully fleshed out than anybody in the first movie, including Maverick, right? Box office. Okay. First movie's a hit. Second movie. Again, so one of the things I do want to talk about, Top Gun's budget in 1986 was $15 million. Top Gun Maverick's budget in 2022 is $177 million, but it's all there on screen. Opening weekend for Top Gun in May 16th, 1986, $15 million, Rich. Or I'm sorry, $8 million, Rich. 2022 Top Gun Maverick grosses $126 million.
Yes.
Opening weekend. It goes batshit insane. Like, it grossed $718.7 million in the United States and Canada alone. $777 million in other territories, worldwide total $1.496 billion. And as we were ending the pandemic, it is literally the most important film in the recent history of the box office that is credited with saving theaters. It is.
Yeah.
That summer, 2022, everybody wanted to go back to theaters, but a little bit afraid. They needed something to get under their ass to get out of their house and go to the theater. And this was the movie. The numbers are stunning. Like, they are stunning numbers, Rich. Like, I don't even want to get into DVD and Blu-rays now. Like, it's unbelievable. Opening weekend 126.
True, because the studio wanted to just push this out during the pandemic because it was supposed to be released in 2020. They wanted to push this out onto home video streaming, and Tom Cruise and his manager stood very firm and said, "No, I have faith in this movie."
If you do it, there will never be another movie made at Paramount Studios with my name on it. Is one of the things that was rumored to be said in a room, right? If you put this
and
movie
they still
out,
had one more Mission Impossible movie to make. Because
they had two more Mission Impossible movies.
That's right. Yeah, the second.
Actually, three. They still had three Mission Impossible movies to make. So, like, the idea that he took his thing and said, "This is a movie for theaters, made for theaters," with the express rating, and said that I think I can help theaters, right? So, like, the movie is so big that Deadline reports that the film's net profit is $391 million, accounting for budgets, marketing, talent participation, other costs. By the way, Rich, he gets paid $14 million. He takes a cut of the back end. And somebody, I guess somewhere, I was reading an article. Somebody said, somebody in his, I don't know, one of his agents said, "We don't think that's a good idea with the pandemic, sir." And he said, "Just let's get the movie released. I'll take 14 million is plenty. I'll take the back end on profits because I'm gonna make sure it gets into theaters, and and that's the other thing, Rich. Part of the box office story of this movie is that he went out and promoted, and I mean really promoted, went around the world, everywhere it opened. There was a Tom Cruise, a Tom Cruise article or Tom Cruise. You couldn't get away from it, right? It was the highest grossing release in 2022, right? Listen to this interesting statistic. A 3-day weekend of 126, 4-day Memorial Day weekend of 160, right? And doubling Tom Cruise's previous career best. Doubling. So his career best is like 80. He did 160 for a 4-day weekend. It doesn't lose its title. It loses its title in 2025 to Lilo and Stitch. But in its second weekend, it grossed $90 million, which at the time was a 29% drop. The smallest ever for a film opening over $100 million. So it grosses over $100 million the first weekend. It grosses 90 the second weekend. 29% drop, which is unheard of. It doesn't get dethroned by number one until its third week of release by Jurassic World Dominion. And even in its third week, it still grosses $51.9 million. It was in the top 5 of the box office throughout the first 10 weeks of release. It never dropped below 5. When it did finally drop out of the top 5 in its 11th weekend, it still grossed 6th with $7 million. In its 12th weekend, it gets re-released on 400 more theaters, made 7.1, and goes to second place, 7.1 million in its 12th weekend. In the 15th weekend, it made $6 million over the Labor Day.
It had like an old school 80s blockbuster, basically.
Yeah, it was. The word of mouth on this movie is incredible. And then if you look at the worldwide totals, Rich, it's the biggest opening ever in 32 of the markets of the world for Tom Cruise. It becomes his calling card movie. And even the most interesting thing is, I think the Mission Impossible movies are the best movies of his career, But because Maverick is so well regarded and did so well, the Top Gun franchise is now number one for Tom Cruise fans. But it's unbelievable. The numbers are staggering. It plays an average of 15 weeks in theaters. Mm-hmm. It opens on 4,700 screens. If you adjusted it for inflation right now at this moment, it would make $816 million domestic and $845 worldwide. So it's like it's an unbelievable success. Like the kind you can't even begin to imagine. Now, again, that would be one thing. Then we do the critical response then and now. We use Rotten Tomatoes as an aggregate. Top Gun, I remind everybody, Top Gun on Rotten Tomatoes was 55% on the tomato meter, 83% on the popcorn meter. Rich, this might be the highest we've ever had on the show. Top Gun Maverick on the tomato meter, 96%. Do you want to give me a guess what the popcorn meter is, the audience meter is?
98%?
99%. And theoretically, it probably is 100, but they don't actually go that high. It's astounding. And there is not a soul who thinks this is not a better movie than the original Top Gun. There is not a soul that doesn't find, like, I was rewatching it today. It works on so many levels. Like, one, you have all the young guns in the movie that are kind of like stepping up, and he's, Glenn Powell, like before we knew who Glenn Powell was with the Sydney Sweeney movie, right? Like all of these things, they're all there, but the dogfights, the training is better. The actors portraying the younger kids are better. Cruise is better. Like he is more comfortable in his skin in this movie than he was in the original Top Gun, because he wasn't a superstar.
Also, this movie got it had an A+ cinema score, which was the first one for 2022, and I don't think there was an A more in 2022 that got an A+.
Well, and that's the thing. It's one of I think the stat on A+ cinema scores. What is there, like 4 movies that have like an A+ cinema score means anybody who watches it, there are not that many. They're like very hard to find A+ cinema scores anywhere, like for any movies, like just very hard to find A+ cinema scores. But what I would say, like one of the things that I find intriguing, I think the first one's sloppy, right? But this one is like, it's like a fine edge. Like it does. It has some of the hits from the original. Like we have to go over the Goose death because Miles Teller plays a young, Goose's son, Rooster, right? It has mildly.
I still say, just for the shits and giggles, that part should have been cast with Ryan Gosling.
Sure, absolutely. But the thing is,
it's a terrible pun. I know, but come on.
You're a punny tonight. But what I would say is, Rich, if you get into this argument, like if somebody goes, "Give me a sequel that's better than the original," this is one you could easily pop out of your thing and roll onto the table and win. Like, and the interesting thing about it is, should the ending work? No, but everything is bigger, better, stronger, faster in this movie than the original. It just is better in every conceivable way. And I think part of it is, Cruise, many years of learning what he is and who he is helps. But also, like, he only surrounds himself with people who are good now. Like, I think that's a weird thing that's happened where...
He has shifted to a position where he gets to pick everybody. He's producing his own films. Well, he and his sister through his, production shingle. And so he knows who he can work well with, and generally that's who he'll keep bringing back. If you take a big enough bird's eye view of his career post the original Top Gun, you see him more and more getting into producing his own stuff. That's how the Mission Impossible franchise even began, was he wanted to do that.
Paul Wagner.
And now I will say this, as well as I think everything does work, I think kind of distancing oneself, with the exception of two things, from the original film makes those two things stand out a little bit more as odd that they're coming up together at the same time. Obviously, Goose's son enrolling in Top Gun, that's a story in and of itself. But adding in with, and I'm glad they did it because, of the situation around it. But, adding Val Kilmer's Iceman also, passing away, I think it feels like everything is crashing back. It feels a little coincidental. The interesting thing but if we had like one or two or three other things around the movie that kind of had a callback, like maybe one of the generals of one of the other guys, or one of the other admirals is, or one of the other flight instructors is somebody else who was like one of the other candidates in the school from the first film.
Yeah,
who also stuck around. Yeah, so it would feel a little bit more like a cohesive universe rather than two stories about the same guy with this big ass, set of coincidences happening in the set.
No, I agree with that. What I would also say is the Kilmer thing. First off, it's a great performance. Like,
oh god, it's heartbreaking because
it's a heartbreaking performance. But the most interesting thing that I didn't pay, like I wasn't paying attention to before, like I was paying attention that Val Kilmer was in the movie, and it's one of his last works, and it's tragic to watch this vibrant, amazing actor kind of breaking down from, losing his voice and all these things, shitty things that happen to him in real life. The most fascinating thing that I picked up on this time was watching the movie was. So at the end of Top Gun, Maverick says, "You can be my wingman," right? And as you watch the movie, what you hear over and over again, and you don't pay any attention to it, but then the Val Kilmer scene hits. Iceman has been taking care of him since '86. Mm-hmm. Every time Pete Maverick Mitchell fucks up, Iceman saves him.
Probably there to pull his bacon out of the fire.
To put out the fire, right? And even in this one, he gets in a lot of trouble because he botches the Dark Star program at the beginning of the movie, and they want to throw him out, but he gets requested by Iceman, who's in charge of the entire naval fleet at this point, right? And I found that really fun. You can be my wingman, and the thing is, Iceman was, right? So it's not something you pick up on every time you watch it, but because I think you're so gripped in the watching Val Kilmer, because it's so emotional if you're a Val Kilmer fan.
Am I remembering this correctly, that Kilmer's appearance in the movie was kind of kept under wraps until the movie came out?
Yes. Okay. And when he fucking showed up, people lost their fucking mind.
I knew I didn't know. I remember not knowing. I
remember everybody
like the
moment.
I was at the press
mentioned.
Screening. I was at the press screening, and the second he pops up, I figured, oh, okay, they'll have the mention. There's a picture of him on the wall.
They do the text. He does a text at the bar. Like, you should have told me, right? And he's like, would you have come if I had told you, right? And you're like, oh, they're going to do Iceman as like a text. Like, he's like over his shoulder in a mobile phone way. And then, they go to the house, and Maverick's hugging his wife, and his wife he's like, and she says the cancer's back, and it's like, oh my god. And then it mirrors what happened to Val Kilmer in real life, and he was such a vibrant actor with a great voice.
That really hurt when I saw that. I remember going, oh, just absolutely being totally fucking shocked by that.
Well, and then he does the typing on the screen, and you're like, oh my God, we might not hear him again. And then he does one thing where he he says the last words that that he's ever filmed on screen for him, and it's a moving moment. Like I said, there are other things in the movie that are moving, right, but not as moving as that. And so, but it's a smart throw. Like in a legacy sequel game, the smart throwbacks are so important. It can't just be a nonchalant, we're going to reference the past. It's got to have meat on the bone. And this one does, right? I think when you get out of this movie, when I got out of it today, I was watching it and I'm like, this ending is great. Like the dogfights where he's teaching them, and the idea that he's still kind of fucking Maverick, right? He's still like, he's fighting with John Hamm and Warlock's trying to help him get through it. Like, he's like, bad timing, but all the things work that they're trying to upgrade, like every single thing they upgrade from the original movie, like the football scene, right? Where they're like playing football on the beach and Ham shows up and he's like, why are we doing this? And he's like, you wanted teamwork. They're working teams. He goes, what's going on? What kind of football game is this? He's like, it's dogfight football. There's offense and defense and offense at the same time. So it's all going on all around, swirling. And that's better than the volleyball scene. You know what I mean? Like even how
it gives it a more, it gives it a bit more context. I mean, visually the volleyball scene works because we see that they're doing, whatever. And, it's like, oh, it's kind of team building. It's camaraderie here. Maybe Cruise explaining it to John Hamm is just a little too much gilding of the lily, but it still works. It promotes, performs the same function.
Yeah, when you get into this movie, though, like, as you're like, it's an easy rewatch, even though it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It doesn't feel like it drags. It moves fast. Cruise is happy to be there, but not only happy to be there like an actor near the end of his career, happy to be there because I've waited this long to bring this character back because I've been so fucking like honed in on what I want for a sequel for this character. It's like I said, I think if you get into a debate and somebody goes, sequels are never better than the originals, I think you could trot this movie out on a regular basis and not deal with any of the blowback you might get if you say, I don't know, Aliens versus Alien. You could get into a fight with that. With this, I think most people go Top Gun Maverick is a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's more interesting. And there's a lot more interesting stuff going on. Not to mention all the stuff they do. Like the camera work is exceptional. Like it's the stuff in the cockpit where you can see everything. It reminded me a little bit. Remember when The Abyss came out and they were making all these underwater movies and everybody's like, and Cameron finally said, if you're going to make an underwater movie, you need to see the actor in the goddamn suit. Right. And he made helmets so that you could see that it was the real actors in a tank. Right. That's what this reminds me of. It's so ahead of the curve. And so far ahead of anything that was in Top Gun that when you rewatch it, it's like, I don't know. There's a reason it grossed $1.5 billion. Like it was too good. It's way better than the original. Legacy. Let's talk. So this film is produced by Skydance. I'm going to do a weird legacy first. This film is produced by Skydance. I will say that Skydance, this movie, I think allowed the Ellisons to be in contention to buy Paramount first.
You're probably not wrong.
This is the movie where the Ellisons said, we took a franchise that you had in the 80s, we brought it to the 2020s. We know what we're doing. And all the people that had Paramount stock said, you know what? Our stock shot up when that Tom Cruise movie came out. These Skydance folks, they're making all the Tom Cruise movies that are doing all the business for us. Skydance is making good money. I think a legacy from this franchise, from this movie is that the Ellisons got control of Paramount because of it. And now, in retrospect, the Ellisons are going to get control of Warner Brothers because of it. Because they've been successful. And one of the things they've been able to pitch to people in Hollywood is, look what we did with Paramount. Look what we did. Like, we're making Paramount a little bit better. We're releasing good movies from Paramount. We're mining the IP gold and also making new products. And I just think that's a weird legacy point, but it's something that's there, Rich. Right?
Yeah. Do you think they could? I mean, there's talk about doing a third one, but at this point, quality. Can they turn one around quick enough that Tom Cruise is still of an age where it doesn't seem ridiculous, that he's not going to seem ridiculous where he's climbing into a fighter jet for a third time? So does that sacrifice quality at some point if they try to do it too fast?
So officially in the works already, right? There are multiple sightings on what the sequel will be. One, Miles Teller was so changed by this experience, and he was like, him and Cruise bonded, and they like, Teller learned to fly with Cruise, and like, that's the other thing. Cruise gives out weird gifts like flight lessons for all the cast, so they all could learn how to fly their own fucking planes. And Teller, one of the things that happened was Teller pitched a sequel that he would like to do, coming back as the Rooster character, right? Where maybe Rooster's teaching a Top Gun. Now, I don't think you have a movie unless you have Tom Cruise, but
no, this is his franchise.
This is his franchise. But if Tom Cruise ever picked an actor that he wanted to pass it on to, right? And,
yeah, I mean, we thought the Rocky franchise was Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
And then you got the Creed franchise. So
but the Creed franchise was so cultivated the right way. We probably could have done those as legacy sequels, to be honest, in our shows. But so Teller pitched the sequel, right? Same time, Cruise is finishing up the Mission Impossible franchise, doing a lot of work with Paramount, he announces that he's maybe thinking about a sequel. Reported in 2024, was in development. May 2025, McQuarrie said he has a script already done for Top Gun 3. In April 2026, it was announced the third film was officially in the works. And the only thing that can stop this franchise, and something we do have to talk legacy-wise, one of the things that happened during the movie, we talked a little bit about the budget being cut by the Chinese company. One of the things that did happen in the movie is one of the badges that was on Tom Cruise's leather jacket from the original was taken off to make China happy. It was a Taiwanese badge, I believe. And so the only thing that I think can stop this franchise is if a global power says we don't want any more of these movies. Also, I do want to say it's not nearly as jingoistic as the first one, or homoerotic as the first one, right? It's kind of
military fetishistic,
right? It's not as bad. Well, part of that is because Tony Scott's not directing it, but also part of it is because I think these pilots are incredible heroes. You don't need to go overboard on the fascistic stuff because you have to believe in them anyway. So pull back a little bit and maybe not create a movie that gets under everybody's skin as annoyingly jingoistic, right? But I think one of the things that could hold up the franchise legacy-wise and the viability of the franchise, if you get global powers who are gonna, like, a lot of these studios that are kind of incorporating are all of a sudden going to be owned by foreign subsidiaries, right? We got in the Warner Brothers deal, there's a lot of talk about Middle Eastern owners. There's in the Paramount deal, there's a lot of talk about Chinese ownership. The Ellisons are kind of in bed with everybody. The only thing that I could think could hold up the franchise if Cruise wants to make it, right? That's the other big thing. If Cruise says, I don't
if he's happy with the script,
right? If he's happy with the script, if he he finishes up his Oscar run with Digger and says, I want to make $1 billion movie, right? He finishes up his Oscar run, which is what people are talking about right now. But he's talking about that Digger's going to be this incredible, weird, movie by a big boy director. You know what I mean? Where Cruise is going for gold, not necessarily box office, but going for gold. And so that's the only things that can stop it. Like global pressure, as the studios kind of incorporate the global world economy that's buying into our American film studios. And if Tom Cruise doesn't want to do it, because I don't think you get Rooster without Tom Cruise.
No, good God, no.
We have a
Rooster
episode, but couple comments as we don't care for Top Gun. My Schwartz is bigger than yours. Or was it Return of Maverick? Nice. Too many porn stashes. No. Miles Teller is an exceptional porn stash, and it's offset by how Glenn Powell has no stash whatsoever. Completely clean shaven, the baby-faced assassin. Powell's great in this movie, by the way. I fully believe another legacy part of this movie. We're going to look back at this movie of all these actors that were handpicked by Tom Cruise, and I think we're going to look back at this movie someday where this was a launching pad for 5, 6, 7 stars. People that are making active bank in Hollywood. Because I think he only picks people that are working their balls off. So like Miles Teller, Glenn Powell, Monica Barbaro, Lewis Pullman, like all these people that appear in all these other things. I think we're going to look back at this movie and go, oh, where did I first see them? Oh yeah, Top Gun Maverick. He had the entire young crew, and they all went on to Marvel, or they went on to Glenn Powell doing The Running Man and all the other things he's working on. I just think that is a lasting legacy of this movie, the young cast that Cruise allotted. And like I said, there are so many things on the video where the actors are like, yeah, I'm getting sick and I'm throwing up, but Tom Cruise picked me to be in this movie. Bill Pullman, Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son, there's a moment in one of the behind the scenes things where he goes, I'm having a moment. I almost drowned, but I am working on Top Gun Maverick. And he kind of just looks into the camera like he's in a cult. And I think we're going to look back at this movie and go, there were a lot of young Hollywood stars in this movie that Tom Cruise was in on the ground floor before everybody else started noticing them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. One other thing I thought about here, just actually triggered by some news from today. I don't know if you had seen this. In terms of franchise viability, I don't know if you get Tom Cruise to star in it, but you do a story about a class of Top Gun pilots as a TV series, and every week is a thing. You see, this is being, I thought of this because they had that announcement that Peacock is developing a Fast and Furious TV show, which I'm like, that sounds expensive. And are people going to tune in with, if Vin Diesel is not in this show? And it sounds like he is.
But it sounds like he's going to be the crypt keeper that kind of just, here's another tale of the Fast and the Furious.
I don't know what that show is going to be, can you do a Top Gun TV show? I mean, yeah, people are going to expect aerial dogfights every week, and maybe you could do some of that. That's going to get expensive. It's not like Baba Black Sheep where they could just utilize old
plane just crashing into something. Yeah, it just
dogfight footage from World War II.
How do I say this? And I think
it's an interesting idea, at least.
I think the reason you're seeing a Fast and the Furious possible TV show is because Mr. Diesel is done. So Tom Cruise is not done, and Tom Cruise is from the generation of actors that my dad would like, in the sense that he understands that you can be a star or you can be a movie star, right? You can be, and we've blurred the line in the last 15 years because, you know, we have great shows on television, we have great IP on television that becomes, but Tom Cruise is from the 80s where if you're a movie star, you don't do television. And if you're a TV star, you don't do movies. And I just think I don't think he would ever do that. I think Vin Diesel's doing it because Peacock's looking to cut cost, Universal's looking to cut cost, and they're trying to throw him a bone. You know what I mean?
He might say, we'll give you a TV series because there's no way in hell we're going to finance.
We're going to finance these Fast and Furious movies that aren't making the money they used to make. A couple last comment of the night. The movie did save theaters from the COVID drought. Yes, that is another legacy piece. Movie theaters would not be prepping for a 2026 where I think all things are set for a very big summer. And I don't think it ends because I think, you know, September, October, November, December, we have other things. I think we have a chance to be pre-COVID. Knocking on wood, Rich. Pre-COVID box office chance with how things are playing out.
If not very much within spitting distance.
Yes, which would be we wouldn't want to do during COVID. Anyway. Let's not talk about spitting. No. Rich, where can people find your stuff?
Well, all of my writing can be found at filmbuffonline.com. I've got a couple of reviews I'm hoping to get done this week, including something for tomorrow, if I just can stay up this late to finish it off. And one or two things for the weekend. I've got a feature or two I'm still trying to, put the polish rag to finish that off. So if you want to find out when all of this stuff is getting published, come to our Facebook page where we always, post notifications when new stuff goes up. That's Filmbuff Online, on Facebook. You can also follow me on the socials at FilmbuffRich on Blue Sky, Threads, and the Twitter machine.
Okay, JW Movie Guy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter. We got other places. What?
No, I was gonna finish up here.
Okay.
And then I'll propose something to you on the air.
Proposing. I'm all about proposing. If you like what you see, we're the Indie Escape Network. Where creatives unite. We do all kinds of fun stuff. We are now available in all of the places where you can get your audio versions of a podcast. So you don't have to look at our mugs. You can kind of just go and find us anywhere. We also do shows almost every day. Every week we will have at least some shows. Generation Movie, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Usually every week. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Loud Nerdy, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Pop culture, comic books, movies, television, all kinds of stuff. We're talking about summer movies. Also be talking about the end of Daredevil, Born Again Season 2. Simplistic Cynicism with Gabe.
Holy cow.
Lots of good guests. He's very heady in the business. He also makes movies himself. Technical Defects, bi-weekly with Ryan West and Joe Ridgely. If you like what you see tonight, please like and subscribe. Or if you see clips, like and subscribe. We are 2 weeks off after this. We're off for next week because Rich is going to see a movie with Guy in Silver and a little green friend. And we're off the 25th for Memorial Day holiday.
Of said movie.
Yes.
At the end of that week, of next week, do you want to go on and do a Thursday or Friday evening?
Yes.
Live? Okay.
Yes.
So,
yes, we can do it Thursday. We can do it Thursday to get the jump on it because I will be seeing it. I think I'm seeing it at 4:00 on Thursday.
Okay.
Unless I see it, I'll let you know because if I like it enough, Rich, I'm going to go in and walk right back in. If I like it enough, I'm going to do that.
Fair enough.
It depends on the family as well. But we're off for 2 weeks. It doesn't mean you can't watch us and enjoy us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Go see some movies. Big movie this week everybody's talking about is Obsession. And In the Gray, I think everybody's talking about.
On this show, how deep is our back catalog now? Are we at like 100?
We're 4 years in. We started in 2022. We actually started the summer Top Gun Maverick premiered, which is another reason why we did this show today. But we have a back
probably
catalog
about 125 shows.
Yeah,
figuring all
we got
the
a lot
time
of
off we take.
shows. We've put a lot of work out, and we are working on something really cool for June. Rich and I are going to go back and look at some classic dad movies that you could sit down with your dad and watch the movies, or they may sit down with you and watch the movies. But they're movies that Rich and I have curated that I think we're going to do about 3 or 4 weeks on, and then we're going to jump into maybe some movies celebrating the 40th anniversary in '86. I can think of one I really want to do. I want to do a Big Trouble in Little China show. We haven't done it. So I think we need to. I think we need to get on the Pork Chop Express. And so good stuff going on for the rest of the year. We bust our ass to try to cultivate really interesting, fun curation. It's one of the things that I think we're really good at, actually. And also cultivating the curation that is in time with things that are actually happening. We picked Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. I told Rich as we were doing the legacy shows, I had it on a list for the 4th and the 11th, and then they announced that Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick were getting released to theaters this week. So it was absolutely perfect in every conceivable way. So please look and watch at our old shows, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. You can go see Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick in theaters this week. You can also go see Obsession and In the Gray and Is God Is another one that's getting
check your local theaters for rep stuff beyond Top Gun. Regal is doing their great rep series. I think
they're doing May music
this month.
A lot of music. Singing in the Rain's coming up. So
then on the 19th.
On the 19th.
I've already got that blocked off to go to.
Find some theaters.
All-time favorite films. But check to see if there's other just straight up rep houses. Hey, what's up, Jerry? Hope you're having a great evening. In your area, I know here in the Northeast PA, we've got the Mahoning Drive-In going on right now. They always do. They always have a great
one. What's the new one
program.
that you've been going to?
The Gap Theater in Windgap, a little bit north of Allentown, is amazing. The Ambler Theater down outside of Philadelphia in Ambler, Pennsylvania.
Go see an old movie. It'll make it better.
Don't go. Oh, I can see it I can see it on Amazon Prime or whatever. There's nothing like seeing it in a theater and with other people projected. Every print has a personality, I always say. So if you can see it as a 35 millimeter projection.
Like I said, the communal aspects of movies are so important. Like The Sheep Detectives is going to be great when you watch it on streaming, but it's better when you're in an audience of all these. It was an eclectic group of people who are laughing and chuckling at the funny sheep, and they solve a mystery. Like it's just, it'll warm your soul, and also it's going to help to get back into movies because the summer's going to cook. I just have a feeling that sometimes we don't look at like last summer. We're super excited. We think 2026 won't be that big, and then all of a sudden, it just waves of blockbusters coming out that are just. Maybe like I said, if they're good, they're going to be good. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week. See you in 2 weeks.
Take care.
Bye.
See you in June.